All right, and just like that, guys, we are into this group's standing race for Banjo-Kazooie 100%. It's going to be a really good race today. We have Stivitybobo, the world record holder for Banjo-Kazooie 100% on the left, and we have hyperresonance 92 on the right. He's actually the creator of the Banjo-Kazooie 100% tool-assisted speedrun. So this is going to be a very interesting match to watch. Who's going to have more technical skill? Who actually knows more about the game? Who has more game sense? Who has more game knowledge? Who's going to come out on top? It's going to be a really great race. It's going to be great to see these guys race together. Also, really good friends in real life, so it'll be a nice, friendly race. We see Stivity. He's out to an early lead, collecting these honeycombs in Spiral Mountain. And basically, for those who are new to watching Banjo-Kazooie speedruns, this is a 100% speedrun. This is the longest category that we've ever had here on Speed Gaming. They're going to be collecting 100 jiggies, 900 notes, 24 empty honeycombs. And right now, they're just collecting those 6 empty honeycombs that you see within the confines of Banjo's homeworld, Spiral Mountain. So it's going to be really great. They're going to make their way into Grunty's lair as soon as they collect these 6 honeycombs. And again, we see that Stivity is off to an early lead. He's already collected all 6 honeycombs. And he's going to make his way up around the mountain. And he's going to attempt a skip that we call Bottle Skip. And what he's going to be doing is he's going to be landing on a certain part of the ground that's very far away from Bottles so that he doesn't register Bottles, and he's going to hope to flutter right over him. And just like that, Stivity manages to get over Bottles and enter the lair. We'll see if Hyper can do the same. And just like that, Hyper also gets Bottle Skip. So very good. And good evening, chat. Hope you guys are enjoying the match so far. We're in for a really good race. So grab a snack, grab a drink, dress comfortably. We're going to be in here for a while. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I will say for those who are just watching Banjo-Kazooie, we're about to see the benefits of a glitch that they have done outside of the game called Furnace Fun Moves. Furnace Fun Moves is a way of accessing a previous game file's moves and transferring them over to a new file. So you'll notice that when Stivitybobo enters Mumbo's Mountain here on the left, he's already going to have access to all of the moves of the game. Well, almost all the moves of the game. And so he's going to go ahead and go right into Town Trot, and he's going to start collecting the things that he needs to collect. Hyper Resonance right behind him, just about to enter Mumbo's Mountain, and he will also jump into Town Trot as well. So we know that both players have turned on FFM and they're ready to keep racing. This category, it usually takes about 2 hours, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 40 minutes, 3 hours, depending on the skill of the player. Most people average at around a 2 hour, 30-minute mark. That's actually the time that Hyper Resonance has on the right, is a 2 hour 30. Stivitybobo, obviously world record holder, he does it in 2 minutes and 3 seconds. So that's the difference between racers here. And Stivitybobo actually is struggling a little bit at this termite mound. He accidentally missed the hill and dropped all the way back to first level. So that was a little bit of a catch-up for Hyper on the right. Banjo-Kazooie is really great because the developers did not intend for you to be on the same slope for too long. And so if you actually step off of the slope and come back to the same slope, you can actually keep standing on the slope. And that's how both of these guys were able to get to the top of the termite hill without using the termite. Did I say 2 minutes, 3 seconds? I meant 2 hours and 3 minutes. My apologies. So these guys are making their way around Mumbo's Mountain. The good thing about Mumbo's Mountain is there really isn't too many hard tricks. It's really just preliminary movement. You know, the first level of the game, it's just about, hey, how fast can we optimize our movement at collecting these notes? How fast can we optimize collecting the Jinjos, etc., etc. And we're seeing Stivity. He's already made his way over to Chimpy, feeding him the orange so that he can get a Jiggy. And Hyper on the right actually gets the early Conga Jiggy, which actually can be beneficial depending on where he lands, where the conga jiggy lands. So normally, if you see on Stivity's screen on the left, you'll see that there's still one orange switch remaining, and Stivity's going to have Conga throw an orange at this orange switch right after he hits the witch switch. You can see that Hyper, he's already spawned the jiggy from the orange switch. It's over there on the right, and that's something that it doesn't happen too often, but if that jiggy lands where Conga's jiggy would normally land, it can be really, really good. And I think that Hyper only has 3 eggs. I think he's at a very big loss. For some reason, he already had the eggs move learned. Because Bottles did not refill him 50 eggs, he didn't talk to Bottles. I'm very, very confused. Normally, this is not how a runner's game file is set up. So we'll have to keep note of that. The fact that he only has 3 eggs, that's going to be really, really interesting to see how he routes around that. But Stivity with the early lead, of course. He's got about a 20-second lead on Hyper on the right, just now entering Mumbos. And Stivity's going to make sure that he walks around Mumbos very carefully. He doesn't want to wake Mumbo up. So he learned eggs by mistake in his FFM route. That's going to be really, really interesting to see how Hyper plans around that. So normally, when we set up an FFM route, we don't want to collect certain bottle moves. We don't want to collect eggs. We don't want to collect red feathers, which is flying. And we don't want to collect gold feathers, which is the invulnerability move. And the reason we don't collect these moves is because Bottles, when we talk to him on the first try, he refills some of those items for us. So for instance, he gives us 50 blue eggs, he gives us 25 red feathers, he gives us 5 gold feathers. And unfortunately, if you learn those moves in your FFM file, you're unable to learn those moves again in a regular new file that you would learn for speedrunning. So Hyper is at an extreme disadvantage here in that he needs a lot more than 12 eggs for the remainder of this run. And he's going to have to plan around that and route out some new eggs, some new red feathers. And that's going to be a major disadvantage for this race. So hopefully that's something that Hyper takes care of before his next race. Stivity now with about a 40-second lead. He's just made his way out of Mumbo's Mountain. And Stivity is going to do another slope glitch here in order to achieve this jiggy outside of Mumbo's Mountain, which is normally only accessible by the termite. A quick dive there on Hyper's side. Manages to get to the bottom of the water really fast. And Hyper is going to be going for the Jinjo skip. So you'll notice that when these guys are collecting jiggies, they're going to be trying to collect jiggies either when they're flying, swimming, in the water in general, getting hit by an enemy. All of those deactivate what we call the jiggy jig, that 5-second dance that happens whenever Banjo and Kazooie pick up a jiggy. So they're going to be trying to eliminate as many of those as possible because obviously those add up against their time. And Hyper gets the slope glitch on the first try as well. And again, because of FFM, because these guys do have a couple of moves early, we can see Stivity, he's already got access to the Shock Spring Pad, even though he hasn't been to the level that gives you the Shock Spring Pad move, and he's now opening up Clanker's Cavern. So these guys are going to be doing a couple more seconds of lair movement. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Secret Humor Man. I'm also a avid BK runner. And we should have a lot of fun here tonight, guys. It's going to be a really good match. I'm really interested to see how Hyper adapts. He really is adapting on the fly to the fact that he doesn't have these eggs. So we'll see how he manages that. Stivity just now entering Treasure Trove Cove, the second level of the game. Treasure Trove Cove can be what we call the run killer of the early game in terms of Banjo-Kazooie speedruns. It's the first level that we learn flying. It's the first level that we actually use flying to our advantage. And there's going to be a lot of very tight flying maneuvers that we'll see out of both these runners in order to collect some of these jiggies, these Jinjos, these notes as fast as possible. Very good question. How much RNG is in BK runs? So besides Furnace Fun at the end, Really the only RNG that is there are things like turtles, things like where the snowmen decide to throw the snowballs. There really isn't a lot of RNG when we look at the entirety of the run. And that's normally a very good thing. Very opposite from Banjo-Tooie. Banjo-Tooie, a lot more RNG to deal with. And you'll see that Stivity has just done another quick dive on his side. If we leave Talon Trot as we're hitting the water, the game registers us as on the ground or on the x-axis at a certain point that is lower than what we actually are. So it tries to access the closest to the ground that we can get. So the quick dives are a way to get to the bottom of a certain water section in the fastest amount of time. So Stivity, he's jumping up here. He's going to grab the green Jinjo, and then he's going to do our first little quick flying maneuver. So if we do 6 flaps and we hold down to pick up this note, we can do 1 flap and come over here to this treasure chest, and we'll just be able to squeeze into this treasure chest to pick up the Jiggy and fly back out. And again, guys, remember, we want to collect these Jiggies in air because it totally skips the Jiggy Jig. It skips that 5-second cutscene or so. Hyper just making his way out of Blubber's ship, and he'll be getting his first Jiggy of Treasure Trove Cove. Unfortunately, Blubber was at a certain point. He did not get underneath the Jiggy, so he'll have to go and collect it now. Stivitybobo making his way up the ladders. Ladders can be a very tricky movement position, and he accesses another quick dive in order to get to the bottom of this pool for another Jiggy. And we will see Hyper with 8 gold feathers, or 8 red feathers rather. That's going to be very, very tricky when he gets to some of the later sections. Hopefully he's able to pick up some of these red feathers, and he actually lands on the first note, which means that he's going to have to really decide how he's going to maneuver this race. Another Jiggy picked up in flight by Stivitybobo. Picking up the orange Jinjo and beak bombing. Beak bombing, a move that we don't normally get until the 6th level. 5th level, rather, excuse me. To get to the top of the lighthouse as fast as possible. So Hyper is trying to maneuver himself here. He really wants to pick up this Jiggy in flight. He's able to do so. He does it very well, actually. And he is going to beak bomb down to the stairs. So this is definitely a route that's on the fly. It's a route that is not normally used by the players. But again, Hyper is at this major disadvantage because he didn't have a correct FFM file set up. And that's just a lack of preparation. But hopefully he makes it through. Hopefully he does not give up. Stivitybobo making his way inside of Nipper, just collecting these notes and a couple Jiggies as well. And again, Hyper is pretty lucky because in front of each of these flight pads, there is about 3 or 4 red feathers. So he will be able to collect a lot of these. Great question again. What is an FFM file? So for those who weren't there at the beginning, we do have a certain... Oh man, I was just seeing if Hyper's going to make it to the top here with his red feathers, but he unfortunately did not. So he'll have to enter the lighthouse the intended way, get an extra Mumbo token. So an FFM file, very interesting. So about 2 summers ago, the Banjo-Kazooie community found a Furnace Fun glitch. Basically, Furnace Fun is a game that the runners play at the very end of this that has certain mini games in it, etc., that the players do at the end of the game. Well, one of the players found out that if you game over during one of these mini games and you load up a new file, let's say that dying during one of the mini games made you want to reset, which is what it did. It made him want to reset. When he reset and started a new file, he noticed that he had all the moves in that file that he would normally have in the game. So it is a way to access all of Bottle's moves without actually talking to Bottles. The problem is in Hyper's position, he has learned some of these Bottles moves that we didn't want to learn in our FFM file, and so he's lacking in resources. That's the major difficulty here. So Stivitybobo Collecting the last couple of notes here on top of the platform. He'll be jumping down to this chest. Hyper being super safe. He doesn't want to die in Treasure Trove Cove. He's going to kill the crabs, make sure that he's okay. Stivitybobo making his way over to the last X marks the spot for this Jiggy. Yeah, Pixel, you're absolutely correct. Resource management is going to be a huge issue for Hyper. So, dying. Let's talk about deaths. So, in Banjo-Kazooie, dying in a level before you have all 100 notes is a very, very hazardous, very dangerous thing. The game does not register, it does not save how many notes you collect. It merely saves the highest notes that you've collected within the level. So if you were to die at 99 notes, you would have to go through the level again and collect all 100 notes instead of just the one note that was remaining. So if players die within a level, that is very, very, very hurtful to the final time. And so we can see that both of these players in a race category, they're going to be very, very safe with the way that they collect these notes. We can see that Stivity, he did just die there, but the good news is that he already had 100 notes. So it was completely worth it. He was ready. By dying in the game, it does take you back to the beginning of the level. That's what we call a death warp. It's a way to get back to the start of the level a little bit faster than walking all the way back there. So Hyper, he's being very careful with this flying maneuver. He wants to make sure that he can pick up this Jiggy while in flight. And he unfortunately lands, so he'll have to do the little jiggy jig here. Stivitybobo coming into this side room in Grundy's lair because he wants to activate this orange cauldron. We will be using this orange cauldron a lot later in the run to come back and solve a puzzle. So we need to activate it now. And again, Hyper making sure he's picking up enough red feathers. He knows that he needs red feathers later in the run. He's picking these up wherever he can. Stivity on his way now to Clanker's Cavern. And Clanker's Cavern, the third level, the swimming level, and it can be a lot of people's least favorite level, can be a lot of people's scariest level. You know, a lot of people don't like diving super deep with just so little oxygen, you know. Clanker's Cavern's a very interesting level, completely based on a lot of cycles. So every little bit of movement counts in Clanker's Cavern. It's very, very important. And so Stivity, he is on a timer essentially, because by the time he starts to swim, he wants to make sure that he's going to hit a bubble fish that we call Gloop at the very bottom of Clanker's Cavern to make sure that he gets some oxygen bubbles to survive. And if he has done this movement correctly, Gloop will be in the same spot every single time. So he'll be able to access these oxygen bubbles. He doesn't have to worry. He knows that as long as his movement is consistent, he doesn't have to worry about drowning. And that's what a lot of people really struggled with this game casually, is they're like, oh my gosh, it's too deep. I don't want to go down there. I don't want to deal with the bubbles. But again, he's going to swim right down. And you can see he's swimming towards where Gloop is releasing this bubble. He knew exactly where it was going to be. And now it's very important that Stivity, he doesn't miss any of these notes. He doesn't miss any of these things that he needs to do down here, because he's also trying to hit a Clanker tooth cycle. We'll talk a little bit more about that as he starts to rise. And Hyper, I think, died in the sandcastle before he was supposed to. So Stivitybobo, he just unlocked Clanker, rose him up. He's going to grab this last Gloop bubble and start to make his ascent. And we're going to talk a little bit about the tooth cycle now. So the tooth cycle, he is rising at a certain time because he wants to make sure that right as he gets on top of a platform, he's able to shoot Clanker's gold tooth out. He doesn't want to wait for the gold tooth to come around. He wants to just be able to shoot and enter Clanker via his mouth. And so if he's done this cycle correctly, he'll be able to shoot those eggs. He'll be able to enter Clanker's mouth. And it looks like he's going to be a little late. Let's see if he makes it. And he gets it right before the tooth goes back into the water. Very good. So he'll grab this Jiggy and then continue with some notes. Hyper doing the sandcastle again because he died a little bit early. But the good news is that Hyper already had 100 notes, so this isn't too big of a time loss for him. And Stivity's making his way over to the Clanker's rings. Clanker's rings can be very interesting. It's kind of a fun little mini game for certain runners to say, hey, what's the best time remaining you've ever had on the rings? He's going to try to get this jump off of this ring. Very good. He does get the jump for a little bit of extra movement. And now we see that Hyper has exited Treasure Trove Cove. He's making his way over to the Witch Switch Jiggy. So Stivity with about a half a level lead on Hyper. But again, that's what we've expected. Again, we have a 203 facing a 230 on the right. So a little bit of a mismatched match, but hey, that's group stages. Welcome to tournaments. All right, so very, very interesting on the left. We have, or very, very important rather than interesting. So Stivitybobo, he now is outside of Clanker again, and he is on the clock again. He is on the clock for cycles, okay? He is going to try to make this bolt jump. And let's see if he makes it. It's looking good. The ground pound gets him on top of the pipe. And now he's going to try to go around Clanker here in a counterclockwise circle as fast as he can because he wants to get back to Clanker's blowhole right as Clanker's blowhole goes back up so that he can enter via the blowhole. So he is on a timer. Like I said, this level is all about cycles. He wants to make sure he goes fast. He doesn't screw up. He gets the first try honeycomb backflip. Very good. He's going to go around this pipe counterclockwise, pick up some more notes, and he's going to try to enter this blowhole as fast as he can. Hyper deciding to go for the ladder cycle, so he's not quite going for the same bubblefish cycle that Stivity went for. He's going for a little bit of a slower one. But the important thing is that as long as the players know the cycles they're going for, that's how they maintain their safety down below. They want to make sure that they're able to pick up those gloop bubbles, that they don't drown below Clanker. And Stivity should be entering perfect. Right as the blowhole enters, he's able to hit that cycle. He doesn't lose any time. And that blowhole cycle does take about 8 seconds, so if you do miss one, you're waiting about another 8 seconds for it to pop back up. So Hyper is going to be making his way down to the bubblefish to unlock Clanker to collect some notes. Stivity making his way across this flying section very quickly with a beak bomb followed by a rat-a-tat-rap. Now this room, it's intended for you to use gold feathers to get across. However, if you walk along this crease here, as you see Stivity doing, you can actually jump through all these saw blades without doing any damage to yourself. And Hyper misses the third key cycle. Okay, he hits it. He's gonna really be wondering where this bubblefish ends up. I don't think he meant to miss the key there. Stivity making his way outside Clanker now. And the bubblefish is right by Hyper, so he should be able to pick up one of these bubbles pretty quickly. He does have 3 bubbles remaining, so that's about 25 to 27 seconds of airtime. He's going to pick up this bubble, and with 4 bubbles, he should be able to rise just fine. Stivity is going to be making his way up Clanker's tail now to pick up a couple more jiggies before he quick dives down to the crabs. Yes, as far as mismatches go, this is probably the most mismatched because Hyper does not have a properly set up FFM file. That is a huge deal when it comes to resource management in this game. Ooh, and he actually wastes about 6 to 7 eggs on this tooth cycle and misses. So again, these resources for Hyper, they're going to catch up to him, and he's really going to be struggling later in this game. Stivity making his way through the muty snippets, the crabs that are a little bit mutated. That's why they have these humongous eyes. And he's going to be trying to do these quick snippets. He wants to kill the snippet as he comes up here for this jiggy. That way he doesn't have to watch the entire jiggy. The jiggy spawns, he collects it, saves about 2 to 3 seconds. And Stivity is making his way. He's about to collect the last bit of notes. And Stivity, entering this water, he's never going to leave the water now. He's actually going to end this level by drowning. So he's going to collect the last Jiggy while swimming. He's going to collect the last 7 notes while swimming. And he's going to drown at the very end of this level to bring him all the way back to the start of the level as fast as possible. So again, like I said, Stivity still with about a half level lead. It's going to be even bigger as we keep going, guys. I can't stress enough the importance of a properly set up FFM file. And I really do urge Hyper to create a real one before he does his next race, and hopefully he will. Hopefully the pain of going through this run will make him want to create a new one. That is true, though. Anything could happen in the race. You know, like I said, deaths are very costly in this game when they are not intended. And we could see Stivity making some mistakes. You know, Stivity did have a 2:15 in his first match against Retro Runs, 12 minutes behind his PB. So anything could happen. Yeah, I don't want to say that Stivity has this in the bag. I just want to urge the mismatch. Now, we see Hyper going for the bold jump here. He's a little low. He's not going to be able to grab that pipe. So he's going to go over here for this fin. And we'll hope that Hyper can still hit the second blowhole cycle. It's still going to lose him about 8 seconds, but he could still hit the second cycle if he goes fast. And Stivity's just making his way through the lair. He's got to open up a couple more puzzles to the next couple levels before he gets into another individual world. Hyper now going for the honeycomb backflip. Gets it on the first try. Good job. Stivity just now opening up Bubblegloop Swamp. He'll be making his way over to the Bubblegloop lobby, but before he enters Bubblegloop Swamp, he'll be opening up another puzzle for Freezeezy Peak. And Hyper actually pulls off a mid-air frame-perfect jump there. So if you get Kazooie to slide off of a platform and jump at a certain point, you can actually jump while not standing on anything. It does save a little bit of time because he doesn't have to enter the water there. And we can see that Hyper, he's a little behind on his blowhole cycle, so he's going to go ahead and pick up a couple notes before entering Clankers. By the way, guys, if you do have any questions while we're going through this race, please feel free to ask them in chat. I am paying attention to chat, so if you do have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. I know it's just me on the mic tonight, but don't worry, I'll take care of you guys. So Stivity making his way over to the Freezeezy puzzle. And normally we're supposed to use the wading boots. However, if we jump on the sides of these logs, we never enter the swamp with the piranhas and we never take damage. So we can do the entire section without wading boots. Esper, great question. What is a Yorb skip? So the Yorb skip is where you skip the Yorb. Very, very good question. Thank you. Why is the streamer on the right getting cut so hard? So I know we've said this many times. He did have an improper FFM file, and that's mainly what's costing him is a lot of resource management. So Stivitybobo entering Bubblegloop Swamp. Bubblegloop Swamp really isn't too difficult of a level. It's kind of a secondary Mumbo's Mountain. Doesn't have a lot of tricks. Has a couple instances of RNG, but really is just about preliminary movement, your mechanics of the game, your basic optimizations for movement. And so you'll see Stivity, he never wants to really leave the top of this egg. He's going to roll off and rat-a-tat to get back to the top, and that's just a little way to optimize breaking the egg as fast as possible. And Hyper now making his way into the Muty Snippets. And Stivity's coming really, really low to HP, but he'll be able to get onto this note and save himself. And Hyper actually able to pull off the Muty Snippets dance skip. Good on him. So Stivitybobo, he's collecting a bunch of stuff as he goes around. Collecting some Mumbo tokens. Now, a lot of people have asked us in the past, why are Mumbo tokens not a part of 100%? So in the game total screen for Banjo-Kazooie, we really only see the jiggies, the notes, and the empty honeycombs. Those are the collectibles that verify and make up 100% run. So while we do collect Mumbo tokens, because it is impossible to get 100% without collecting certain Mumbo tokens, we don't collect all of them. We don't need to collect all of them. The world record for this game is a 2:03:40. It is held by our runner on the left, Stivitybobo. Yes, in Bubblegloop Swamp, we are going to see some of these guys walk past the jiggies, and I promise that is intended. Like we said, guys, we want to collect the jiggies either while we're flying, swimming, or transformed. All of those states allow us to skip the jiggy dance. We don't want to see those 5-second cutscenes. And Hyper, just now finishing Clanker's Cavern, he'll be making his way over to Bubblegloop Swamp as well. Stivity done with the Mud Hut section. He's going to be making his way behind the Big Gator in order to collect some more notes and collect a Jinjo. Do people do Banjo-Tooie runs much? Well, Banjo-Tooie does have a smaller audience, mostly because the game isn't as popular, but people are still doing Tooie runs every so often. Yes, Banjo-Tooie Hundo is a little long. It airs on the long side. Banjo-Tooie Hundo's world record is a 4:23 compared to a 2:03 in this game. So Bubblegloop Swamp just now being opened up for Hyper. Stivitybobo making his way over to the first part of Bubblegloop Swamp where we have some RNG. He'll be entering Tank Tup in order to talk to Tip Tup, the orchestra turtle, and basically he's going to be slamming these turtle shells here in a little bit, and the order that the turtles decide to sing their song is completely random. So Stivity could get a good pattern, he could get a bad pattern. It's all dependent on the RNG of the game. And you guys will notice that these guys are almost always moving in Talon Trot. I know that that's a very basic mechanic that I didn't talk about at the very beginning of the game, but these guys want to move in Talon Trot basically as much as possible. Jumping in Talon Trot is the fastest movement of the game, especially when you're jumping uphill. It's very, very fast. You want to be in Talon Trot for a lot of sections of this game. In fact, you really want to be in Talon Trot for all sections of the game possible. Is this a good pace for Stiv compared to his world record? I don't really know. I don't know Stivity's individual splits for his levels, but when he gets towards the end, we'll see whether he's ahead or behind. So Stivity, he does have to make the turtles sing 3 times, so he's doing with that right now. And it looks like the third code is a little bit long. You can see that the turtles are singing in completely opposite sides of the room. So when you get a turtle pattern, you really want to have turtles that are right next to each other. If you have to go clear across the room to hit another turtle, you are wasting time. And that is what we call a bad pattern. And so Stivity, he had a couple of turtles where he had to jump from one turtle to the other. Not too big of a time loss though. Hyper making his way over to the egg. We'll see if he gets some quick optimizations on the egg. Going to ground pound, try to roll off with the wrap. There we go. Good. He does the same optimization that Stivity did. Very good. And now with this 7th Jiggy from Stivitybobo, he's going to be making his way over to Mumbo's hut in order to transform into the alligator. We need the alligator to collect a couple remaining Jiggies in the level as well as a few notes. The alligator is the first Mumbo transformation that we use in this game because we skipped most of the termite sections. Okay, very good question. So you'll notice that when these guys go onto some of these platforms that have 3 notes, they're able to skip a note because they know that they have to come back that way. And they do that because it optimizes the Talon Trot movement. By jumping from the first note to the 3rd note on the platform, they're still maintaining that Talon Trot jumping movement that I just said was the fastest form of movement. And since they know they have to come back, they'll just hit the 2nd note on their way back. So it isn't a time loss, and it is an optimized way of moving. Thank you. I appreciate the comments about my commentating. Thank you very much. So Stivity, you'll notice that he's actually not using the wading boots for the swamp. Stivitybobo wants to be at 1 health because being at 1 health will allow him to death warp much faster at the end of the level. Now, are there risks to being at 1 health? Absolutely. There are several dragonflies outside of these huts that could potentially run into Stivity. And if Stivity were to die before collecting 100 notes, Hyper would then be in the lead because Hyper has not died yet. So he's got to be very careful. The Buzz Bomb does dive at him, but he manages to get out. He drops down in order to avoid the 2nd Buzz Bomb. That's the technical term for the dragonflies, Buzz Bomb. And he's going to enter the alligator's nose. What could possibly be in the alligator's nose but a classic RNG minigame called Mr. Vile. So this next Jiggy requires 3 rounds of racing Mr. Vile, this red crocodile, around this sort of arena. And we're going to see Stivitybobo trying to collect as many what we call Yumblies, which are the red guys. He wants to collect more Yumblies than Mr. Vile. And he wants to do that 3 rounds in a row. If he does that 3 rounds in a row, then he will get a Jiggy. And Hyper making his way to the back section of Bubblegloop Swamp, collecting some notes, collecting the blue Jinja. I would sing the Vile song if I knew the lyrics. Sorry. So you will notice that Stivitybobo does have access to the running shoes. Now the running shoes we normally would not get until the 6th level. But again, guys, remember, we have FFM set up. FFM is really, really great for Banjo-Kazooie 100%. We're allowed to get all these moves early. It gives us a huge advantage. It saves about 2 to 3 minutes off the entire route by having these moves ahead of time. And so Stivity easily passes round 1 being the very easiest round of Mr. Vile. He's going to go ahead and go into round 2 here. So Hyper, again, using that optimized Talon Trot movement, skipping a couple notes. He's going to make his way over to the last Croctus. I think he has enough eggs to feed him. Yep, he does have 10 eggs. I will say, guys, I'm very surprised. I've never seen a runner actually perform a race while being this under-resourced. And Hyper's doing a great job. He's doing a great job of realizing, hey, how many eggs do I need for this next section? I know that I screwed up my FFM, but I don't want to lose a lot of time. Where can I pick up these eggs? Where can I pick up these red feathers? And I got to hand it to you. He's actually doing a really, really good job of it. Thank you very much for the compliments, you guys. I appreciate it. So Hyper making his way through the turtles now. Got a couple moments of RNG here. He accidentally talks to Tip Tup twice, so he actually has to watch the code twice. So we'll see Stivity. He's doing the 3rd round of Mr. Vile now. Now the 3rd round is a little bit tricky because you'll notice every 10 seconds it changes the type of creature that the alligators are supposed to chomp. So right now, you'll notice that at the top of the screen, they're supposed to eat the Grumblies, which are the yellow guys, and now it's swapped back over to red, which are the Yumblies. So the Yumblies and the Grumblies in the Mr. Vile section. So yes, I don't actually know if it's a true FFM file. I believe that Hyper had forgotten to set up a FFM file, or he didn't know that he didn't have access to one, and so I'm pretty sure he just used a previous game file which already had all of the moves. So he still is going to save some time not talking to Bottles, but it's really, really hard to be this under-resourced. So Stivity just finishing up Mr. Vile here. Again, just about a half level or so ahead of Hyper. Hyper's doing a good job not to lose too much of his position right now. He hasn't given Stivity too much more of a lead. So Stivitybobo, he's got about 9 more notes to collect, as well as the pink Jinjo, which will give him the 10th Jiggy. And then he will Death Warp on the Dragonfly here in the back. So you'll notice that Stivitybobo's timer, it is red, meaning that he is a little bit behind his splits. It shouldn't be too terrible. You know, he's still probably on a pretty decent pace for what he normally gets, but he is not ahead of time, we'll say. Are the turtle notes the same? No, the turtle notes are actually the first instance of RNG in this game. So they can be whatever notes the turtles feel like singing that day. A little bit of RNG there. So Stivitybobo, he exits as the Gator, meaning that Mumbo has to de-transform him. And he's going to make his way over to Gobi's Valley. So we actually, in our 100% route, we do some of these levels out of order, you guys. And we do that because it's a little bit faster to maneuver our way through the lair. So normally, in a casual gameplay, we would be going to Freezeezy Peak next. Freezeezy Peak is the intended 5th level. But we're actually going to go to Gobi's Valley, which is the intended 6th level. And then we're going to go to Mad Monster Mansion, which is the intended 7th level, before we come back to Freezeezy Peak, which is, again, the intended 5th level. So we are going to do the game a little bit out of order, but the game allows us to do that because we've collected enough notes, we've collected enough Jiggies to access these levels when we can. So the dumb backflip in Spiral Mountain actually is not RNG. A lot of people like to say that it's RNG because, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It is a very precise angle. That myth has been dispelled, if we say. But it is not actually RNG. A lot of people like to say that it's RNG because it does not work a lot of the time. But it is just a very precise angle. So again, Stivity, he could be entering Freezeezy Peak right now, but he does not want to. It's been debunked. Thank you, Bearded Rice. It's been debunked. Perfect. That's the word I was just looking for. Thank you. You're improving my commentary as we speak. So, Stivitybobo opening up Gobi's Valley. He's going to make his way back through the lair to enter Gobi's Valley. Now, Gobi's Valley is widely known as the level where good dreams go to die. If you make it through Gobi's Valley, then you like to be on what we call the run. Gobi's Valley is very, very punishing. There are a lot of flying sections. There are a lot of very unique clips. There are a lot of unique tricks that could really, really add time to your run. The first one, most notably, is what we call Gobi Clip. Now, normally to enter the big Sphinx in this level, you would have to shoot eggs into the Sphinx's nose. He sneezes, he opens up the door, he thanks you, he says, collect your prize inside. We're going to see Stivity do the fabled Gobi Clip trick, where he's going to go around to the side of Jinxie, and he's going to beak bust through a texture of the game that's going to allow him to push him through the bottom of the Sphinx, and he will actually flutter through the sand into the back of the Jinxie door that would normally be unlocked by putting eggs in his nose. I know it sounds a little far-fetched. That's just how the game works. So he's going to make his way with these wading boots. We'll see what try he gets it on. Gobi's Valley is all about health management. And Stivity's making his way. He's going to beak bust the texture. He doesn't get it on the first try. He doesn't get it on the second try. He gets it on the third try. So he's only going to lose 1 more health. It's going to put him at 3 HP. Not too bad. The problem with Gobi Clip is that obviously the longer you maintain yourself in the hot sand, the more health you're losing. And Gobi's Valley is all about health management. You have to be at 4 HP at the end of this level in order to collect some of these remaining notes, in order to collect the last Jiggy. And it's very important for Stivitybobo to maintain his health. So the good thing was he got it on the third try. He's going to need to pick up a honeycomb somewhere along the level, but that's much better than being at 1 health. It's actually pretty nice that we can focus on Stivitybobo, because again, Hyper's just doing Mr. Vile. We've seen Mr. Vile. We know what Mr. Vile is capable of. We don't need to worry about that. So, very interesting on Stivity's left side. You'll notice that these ancients that rise out of the ground, we have to go through the ancients rings 5 times in order to unlock a Jiggy. And the ancients spawn in the same place as long as you exit a loading zone. And so every time that we exit a loading zone, we're going to try to make our way back over to that first ancient, because that's the easiest ancient to go through. We lose the least amount of time going through that ancient. And the good news is that the ancients don't actually rise out of the ground until you look out of where they would rise. So you'll notice that Stivitybobo, he came out of Jinxie. He wasn't looking at the ancient until he was right there. And it rose as he was on top of it. So he was able to just jump through the ring instead of flying through. Everybody's saying that Stivitybobo is going to choke. He could. It's a race. We never know. So Stivitybobo, he makes his way into the memory puzzle. Memory puzzle is not RNG. It's the same tiles in the same position every single time. And Hyper making his way to the end of Bubblegloop Swamp, again with just 1 health remaining. He is picking up these extra eggs. I'm very interested to watch Hyper's run, because I've never seen a run quite like it. I've never seen a run with FFM that actually had all the moves unlocked. So he's doing a really, really good job of this resource management, and I want to applaud him for it, even though it is an incredible disadvantage. Stivity making his way out of the memory puzzle. So Stivity, he's exiting that loading zone. He's going to go ahead and collect a couple more notes, and then he's going to go ahead and fly over to where that first ancient was. And then Stivitybobo is going to do a trick called Grabba Skip. So Grabba is a mummy hand that is pretty quick. He will pull the Jiggy away from you if you're not fast enough. We're going to collect it in an unintended way by flying and beak bombing into it. So Stivity is going to beak bomb through this ancient ring, and then he's going to beak bomb over to Grabba. He's going to make sure that he doesn't beak bomb anywhere near this tree. He doesn't want to soft lock. And there's the Jiggy. He beak bombs into the Jiggy, and he collects the Jiggy while in flight. So he's able to maintain that flight. He misses the Jiggy dance. He doesn't have to grab the running shoes in order to grab the Grabba Jiggy, and he makes his way over to the Ruby Pyramid, where he'll go inside to summon the snake. So he puts 5 eggs in the jar, snake rises, and he gets the Jiggy. And again, once Stivity leaves this pyramid, he'll be making his way down to the ancient again by not looking at it. He's going to try to make his way over to an ancient every time he leaves the loading zone. So Hyper starting to lose a little bit more of his position here. Stivity's about halfway done with Gobi's. He goes through the ancient for the 4th time. And Stivity's going to go ahead and open up King Sandy Butt's temple. That is the mummy's name, King Sandy Butt. For those who were like, what did he just say? Hyper making his way over to the Gobi's Valley puzzle in order to unlock the level. Stivitybobo making his way over to the cactus. And then he's going to try to beak bomb the Gobi patch, just like he beak bombed Grabba. Looks like a good beak bomb. We'll see if he maintains the flight. And he actually does maintain the flight, so he'll be able to collect this Jiggy in flight and then go over to the hill. Sometimes that Jiggy can force you to pick it up and lose your flight. Gives you the Jiggy Jig. King Sandy Butt, first of his name. Long may he reign. Absolutely. So Stivitybobo is going to take the Turbo Trainers. He's going to make his way up to the Water Pyramid. And again, for the final time, when he exits the Water Pyramid, he will be making his way over to the Ancient in order to unlock the Ancient Jiggy. And Hyper is making his way through the lair. He's almost entered Gobi's Valley. And we'll see if Hyper decides to go for the Gobi clip as well. So he grabs the Turbo Trainers. He's going to make his way up to the first Ancient, of course. Nothing different about that route. Stivity collecting the last couple of collectibles in the Water Pyramid before he exits to make his way to the fifth Ancient. And Hyper does go for the boots, so we'll see if he goes for Gobi Clip or not. Stivity making his way over to the fifth Ancient. Notice he hasn't looked at the Ancient yet. And right when he gets to the Ancient, it starts to rise. That's just a little way of optimizing our movement so that we can collect the Ancient Jiggy a little bit faster. And Hyper decides to go for Gobi Clip. He's really trying to line it up here. And he gets it on the third try, much like Stivity did. However, Hyper's going to be down to 2 health, so he's going to pick up a little bit of remaining health in the level. And we actually missed it over on Stivitybobo's side, but Stivitybobo just skipped the entirety of the pyramid by jumping on the top of the maze. Hopefully I'll be able to catch that whenever Hyper does it, because it is a very interesting movement in the game. So Stivity coming out of Sandy Butts. He's going to make his way down to the water here, collecting some notes, collecting some Jinjos. He accidentally quick dives a little bit low, and it takes him down to 3 HP. So Stivity either has the choice now here at the end of the game to say, hey, do we grab an extra honeycomb so that I don't have to use my gold feathers, or do I go ahead and decide to waste some gold feathers? So we'll see which one he decides to do. But he collects another Jiggy in water, skipping that Jiggy Jig dance. Hey, thank you for the shout out. I appreciate it very much. So Stivity, he decides he's not going to go for the health, so he's going to be using some gold feathers towards the end of the run. He hits Gobi for a second time, feeds Trunker some water, and he'll be collecting the 9th Jiggy of the game here on top of Trunker. And he's going to collect this Jiggy with the running shoes, because we actually don't see Jiggy dances while we have the running shoes. So he skips that dance, makes his way onto the top of Jinxie. He'll be grabbing the ancient Jiggies with the running shoes as well to skip the final Jiggy Jig. And then he'll make his way over for the remainder of these notes. So we could say that Stivity does have a little bit more of a lead than he did earlier. He has a little bit more than a half level now. He's going to be collecting these notes. He's going to go down to 1 health. And he's going to jump out. Oh, and go into some gold feathers. So he does waste 1 gold feather. Not too big of a deal. And he collects 100 notes before death warping. Alright, so Stivity making his way out of Gobi's Valley. Again, was the 6th intended level, but we do it 5th. We're going to go to the 7th intended level, 6th Mad Monster Mansion. And Mad Monster Mansion, you guys, is one of my favorite levels as a casual player, as a speedrunner. Mad Monster Mansion has a lot of fun movement, a lot of fun tricks. It's going to be really fun to watch Stivitybobo cruise through it. No, he won't forget the missed note. He knows he missed it. He thought he missed those two. Yeah, we've got pumpkin hype. We've got pumpkin hype very soon. So Stivitybobo, the only problem with Mad Monster Mansion is its puzzle is really, really out of the way. And I would implore all you guys who want to be glitch hunters, if you want to have a mission to save the Banjo-Kazooie community, here it is. If you can get into the Mad Monster Mansion level without actually opening up Mad Monster Mansion, you would be very, very famous in our community, because that is the one thing that would save a huge amount of time on our 100% run. The Mad Monster Mansion puzzle, you'll notice it takes this very, very, very long swim over to the lobby in order to get the Mad Monster Mansion puzzle unlocked. And it's just kind of really out of the way. Nothing else in the game is really this way besides this puzzle. So if you were to, let's say, find a way into this level, you'd be saving about a minute to a minute and a half off of the 100% times. What is my best 100% run? My best 100% run is a 2:17.25. So Hyper making his way through the Snake Pyramid now. He's going to try to hit this Ancient on the way out. Stivity making his way back through this long swimming section to get to Mad Monster Mansion. And it seems like Hyper forgot something, or he was just circling around. He thought he forgot something. He gets the 3 eggs into the last mini Jinxie. Good. Again, I can't stress enough how impressed I am with Hyper managing these resources, because you're normally supposed to have just so many more resources. Stivitybobo unlocking one of the pink cauldrons. We're going to be using that pink cauldron right after Mad Monster Mansion. And Stivitybobo making his way through the lava room in order to get over to the Mad Monster Mansion lobby. And Hyper going down to 1 health on the cactus. He's got to be very careful here. Ooh, and he even goes for the beak bomb. Very risky. If he was to crash the beak bomb, he would have died. And that would have wasted a lot of time. And he's actually choosing not to go for this honeycomb until he gets some health. So he's going to go ahead and break open this beehive, collect some honeycombs. He wants to be safe. He does not want to give up this run. And he's going to try to get this honeycomb the old way with the slap-a hand. Hopefully he gets it. There we go. He did get it on the second try. So that is an old strat. That's a very old, outdated strat of using the slap-a hand to recoil you up into the cactus, but he manages to pull it off on the second try. Good on him. Stivity making his way through the cellar of the mansion, collecting some notes and the first Jiggy of the level. And Hyper making his way up to the water pyramid. So Mad Monster Mansion, why is it my favorite level? So Mad Monster Mansion, it's full of a bunch of little rooms where you can optimize your time. You just go in, you just go out. It's really, really fun. Stivity collecting some more notes, collecting some Mumbo tokens. And Hyper going down to 1 HP again. He's going to use some gold feathers and be safe and kill some mummies for some more health. So very good. The fastest any percent time is a 1:12 flat by Stivitybobo. So Stivitybobo making his way into the living room. And Stivitybobo is making sure he doesn't wake up Napper. Stivitybobo outside of the house now, making his way into the hedge maze. And Hyper manages to get up on the Ancient, even though he missed the original jump. He got the backup. Stivitybobo going through the hedge maze. He's going to do a trick we call Hive Jump. The Beehive is our good friend in the hedge maze because he bounces up and down. And Stivity is going to try to jump off of the Beehive as he goes on the up cycle to get on top of the hedge maze to get over it. So he's going to jump, and he gets on top to get up and over this hedge maze. Very good job on Stivitybobo's part. So Hyper falls into the maze, but he manages to get over it with the backup. Good. Stivity jumping over the hedge maze, collecting some more notes. So yeah, Stivity is really extending. He's the lead now, about halfway done with Mad Monster Mansion now, and Hyper with a lot more left to do in Gobi's. So Stivity making his way through Tumblar. Tumblar is a really good section where we use Ground Pound Recoil in order to collect some of these notes early, in order to not get touched by the ghost. So Ground Pound Recoil, what is Ground Pound Recoil? After you slam the ground as Kazooie, there's actually a moment before you touch the ground again where you are completely invulnerable to damage. We're going to see that being used at some points during the game. Stivity actually going fast enough to where he doesn't actually need to ground pound. He's able to just hop off the Tumblar cup and grab the notes. Do these guys speedrun other games? Stivitybobo is basically known worldwide as the Banjo-Kazooie master. He has world records in all three main categories. But Stivitybobo has also run Star Fox 64 in the past. He does have some good times in that as well, if you look on the Star Fox 64 leaderboards. Brad has run Tooie in the past, Banjo-Tooie, and he is also pretty high up on the Banjo-Tooie leaderboards. And I call Hyper Brad because that is his real name. I know him IRL, and I prefer calling him Brad than Hyper. But I've managed to call him Hyper for about an hour and 2 minutes now before actually calling him Brad. So I'm proud of myself. And Hyper just now finishing the end of Gobi's as Stivity makes his way into the church. Oh, did Stiv actually lose no RBA? I did not notice that. So Stivity making his way up to Motsand. Motsand is going to ask him to play the organ. But the good news about Motsand is Motsand plays the same song every game file. So as long as you memorize the song, you don't have to wait for Motsand to slam the keys first. If you do play an incorrect key, that does lose you health. Some people with 1 HP have come in here and lost their runs to accidentally hitting the wrong key with 1 HP. So Stivity finishing up the song. He'll be making his way up to the Motsand Jiggy. And Hyper is going through the long swim that we talked about earlier to the Mad Monster Mansion puzzle. Again, guys, I'm urging you, find a way. Find a way. Make us skip this long, annoying swim, please. It's on you. The world rests in your hands. So Stivitybobo using the fly pad, he's going to get up to the top here for the Witch Switch and an empty honeycomb. And Stivity is going to roll off and get a proper flutter, take some fall damage, but get the slide in order to recover, proper control of Banjo-Kazooie correctly. So, as you're taking fall damage, if you slam onto a platform and slide off the platform, it gives you control of Banjo-Kazooie much faster than it normally would. And so, a couple more instances of that in the game. We'll see later on. Stivitybobo, I know that he just spawned that Jiggy, but he will be picking up that Jiggy as the pumpkin. Remember, we want to collect as many Jiggies as possible while transformed, while flying, or while swimming. RBA stands for Reverse B Adventure. It's supposed to be a parody of Reverse Bottle, right? Reverse Bottle Adventure, that's what it's called in Legend of Zelda. It's supposed to be just like a meme. It's supposed to be a parody of it. Stivity missing a note. Transforming into the pumpkin. So Stivity almost has a full level lead on Hyper now because of the resource management, because of the increase of skill. So Stivity collects one of the Jiggies. He's going to be collecting 3 more as the pumpkin, skipping 4 Jiggy dances in total. He's going to be collecting this last honeycomb, but he's going to make sure to leave this area as fast as possible. So when you collect those 6 honeycombs, you notice that they started to swirl around. If he were to let those honeycombs swirl around and finish swirling, it would have restored him to full health. But Stivity does not want to be at full health. Remember, we want to death warp at the end of these levels. We don't want to walk all the way back to the start of the level. We want to be able to kill ourselves. And so we want to make sure that we have low health entering some of the last sections of the game. We want to make sure that the honeycombs do not give us back our health. Stivitybobo going down the drain pipe, collecting another Jiggy, collecting some of the last remaining notes. Brad making his way through the cellars. I know, I said it Northwoods and I instantly regretted it. I don't want to be somebody to say, kill yourselves. I meant we want to be able to death warp. Sorry. So Stivity making his way into the well as the pumpkin. It is a pumpkin, it isn't an orange. That myth has been debunked. He collects the last Jiggy. He's going to collect the last couple of these notes, and he's going to be death warping on these tentacles. The whip cracks. Now, we actually need to leave Mad Monster Mansion as the pumpkin, because the pumpkin is the only way for us to raise the water levels in order to get to Rusty Bucket Bay and Click Clock Wood, the last 2 levels of the game. And so Stivity is entering what I like to call late game. You know, we've got the early game levels. You got Mad Monster, you got Trove Cove, you got Clankers. You got the mid game levels. That's kind of like the Bubblegloop, the Gobis in the Mad Monster Mansion. And then the late game levels are what I like to call Freezeezy Peak, Rusty Bucket Bay, and Click Clock Wood. So we see Stivity. He's raising the water levels in order to get over to Rusty Bucket Bay. Oh, and his console reset. His console reset. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Stivity, he just also, no, he actually did not lose any progress. We do reset there intentionally. It is the fastest way to get back to where we need to get in the lair. So do not freak out that he reset. That's actually something that we do allow. We don't allow our, we do allow our runs to be non-single segments, so you are allowed to reset. Jebaited! Tricked y'all. So Stivity, he's making his way. If you remember before Mad Monster Mansion, he did jump into the pink cauldron, and he'll be jumping into that pink cauldron again in order to get back to that part of the lair. Hyper fumbling a little there. He thought he had gold feathers. He did not. And he's picking up every little egg. He wants to make sure everything is being used. Stivity jumping into the pink cauldron now, taking his way over to Freezeezy Peak, which arguably is the best music of the game, Freezeezy Peak. So again, Stivity, he is starting to increase his lead more and more so as we go through this race. Now entering Freezeezy Peak. He's going to be just about a full level ahead of Hyper here pretty soon. So you'll notice that right now, Stivity's just dodging all these notes. He doesn't need to collect them. We're going to be coming back down those ramps eventually. He doesn't need to collect them right now and waste time. He's just making his way over to the Twinklies. Now, interesting part about the Twinklies is if we kill the first Twinkly Muncher there, that green little T-Rex looking character, and then we stand on the box, the game will make the noises as if the T-Rexes spawned, but the T-Rexes won't actually come out of the holes. So if you stand on the box, the Twinklies will just go straight to the tree, and we can take a second to stretch, we can take a second to go get some food. One of our slower runners likes to use this as a bathroom break. And you'll notice that Stivity, he makes his way over here. He lets the last Twinkly enter the tree. And Stivity's going to shoot the switch without looking. And he gets it perfectly. Does it with the setup. Hyper's got to be careful. He's only at 1 health. And remember, if Hyper dies with 1 health, he has to collect all 100 notes again. So we definitely don't want to see that out of Hyper. Ooh, man, that was so scary. So if Hyper had actually not fluttered away from the whip crack, that would have been the end of Mad Monster Mansion for Hyper, and he would have had to do it all again. But luckily, he does get out of the way in time, and he does escape dying. And he'll be making his way into the church. Stivity's going to be going for what we call YOLO Star, where he goes through the star 3 times without actually flying. Very optimized way of collecting the star. And because the game believes that there's no way to go through the star without flying, the game will put you back into flight when you're done going through the star. So that's a way for us to optimize it and still maintain our flight. Now, I want to be very curious here, you guys, because Hyper, does he remember the piano? If he doesn't remember the piano, this could be the end of his run right here. So far, so good. He looks like he's going towards the right one. He's gotten the first code down. Good. He's going towards the right notes still, which is good. He's got to do E flat there, A, D, C sharp. Yeah, he's good. A. Yep. F. No. Whoo! F, there we go. He spooked me there a little bit. B, E flat. All right, good. So he makes his way through the piano. Thank God. He really, really scared me when he was hovering on that second D key, but he made it through. Good, good, good. All right, so Stivity has finished his way with the Christmas tree. He's going to grab these notes, and he's going to grab the first Boggy present before he leaves the tree. He's got to collect those 3 presents in order to give Boggy's kids some presents. Boggy's kids, unfortunately, in this game, they don't really have a father. He's out racing. He's out gambling his money away. He doesn't have time to get his kids Christmas presents. And so Banjo-Kazooie, they take the form of Santa Claus in this game. We collect the presents. We deliver them their Christmas presents. Stivity making his way through the beak bombing of the snowmen that we call Sir Slush. That is their official name, are the Sir Slushes. He's got to beak bomb all 5 of these guys on top of their hats in order to spawn another Jiggy. And he manages to get it with 1 feather remaining. Good on Stivity. So he'll be able to beak bomb into Mumbo's here. It looks like a good beak bomb. Perfect. He gets into Mumbo's hut as quickly as possible. So Brad Very interesting. So Brad did... This is something that normally doesn't get shown in a run, but it is very interesting that Brad, again, like I said, guys, he's got this game sense, this game knowledge that a lot of people don't have. So what Brad just did was he flew high above the witch switch in order to take damage. So the game registers him as dying. However, the game also needs to play the witch switch cutscene. And so it plays the witch switch cutscene, which then ports him back to where he slammed the witch switch and gives him full health. Very, very interesting strat. We don't see that from a lot of runners, but that was an easy way for Brad to maintain his full health and get full health before he needed to slide off the top of the church. Very, very, very cool. This is one of the reasons, guys, I said this race was going to be so cool, even if it was such a mismatch, because these guys have incredible game knowledge. They know exactly what they're doing. Brad making his way into Mumbo's. He's going to transform into the pumpkin. Stivity making his way through the first boggy race as the walrus. And he's collecting some of these notes during the boggy race because that's an optimized way of collecting. Yeah, no, it's been a long time since I've seen that done in a run. So I'm actually very impressed on Brad as well. He knows he needed more health in order to get to the bottom of the church. So that was a really, really smart idea from him. Yes, you are free to spam the wahays if you wish. Stivity finishing up the first boggy race. Good on him. And Hyper making his way down Lago, the toilet, in order to pick up some jiggies. So we've got some movement here with Stivity. He's going to make his way down, collect some Mumbo tokens. And Stivity's going to be making his way back over. He wants to transform back into Banjo-Kazooie for the rest of the game. He's going to pick up this present, the second present, as the walrus. Good news is that the walrus and Banjo-Kazooie have shared inventories, probably because they're wearing the same backpack. And so you can collect the presents as either the walrus or Banjo-Kazooie in order to collect all three. So Stivity's going to be transforming back into Banjo-Kazooie here. Hyper making his way over to the well section so that he can grab the last couple of notes and jiggies. So Stivity has a long climb here with Banjo-Kazooie. He's got to make his way up the scarf. He's going to be collecting a lot of notes. He's going to be collecting the hat jiggy on top of the hat, and that's why it's called the hat jiggy. And he's going to be doing a very unique beak bomb in order to get over to the start of the level. So really, really interesting thing about beak bomb is that if you beak bomb and land on inclined ground towards the end of it, you actually don't crash land. You don't take damage like you normally would. So we're going to see Stivity. He's going to hit the top of this mountain peak pretty soon, and he's going to go right over the top of it without taking damage, and it's going to lead him back to Boggy's igloo so that he can be Santa Claus to Boggy's kids. These guys are both playing on the N64 version of the game. The N64 USA version is the fastest version of the game. Unless you're really, really, really good at this game, then you can use the PAL version and save about 20 seconds. But nobody currently does that on our leaderboard. So hey, free world record up for grabs, guys. Okay, so he's going to do the beak bomb. He's going to hit the top of this mountain peak. He's going to slide over the top, back to the igloo. He takes some fall damage, and he enters the igloo. Just like that. Saves a ton of movement there. So Brad raising up the water level, and oh yeah, that's right. We do reset there. So Hyper now hitting the reset button. He's going to make his way back through the lair. And will he enter Freezeezy Peak before Stivity finishes Freezeezy Peak? We'll have to see. Stivity still does have Boggy Race number 2 to go. What is the estimated time for 100%? I would estimate that Stivity will get around a 2:10 and Brad will get around a 2:35. Maybe even a 2:40. There are a lot of cheat codes for Banjo-Kazooie. However, they are not allowed for speedruns, except for the Sandcastle % category, in which you're allowed to use the Sandcastle cheats, since that's where you put in the cheat codes. Brad making his way through the lair, collecting another Witch Switch Jiggy. Stivity making his way through Boggy Race number 2. Feel free to spam your wahays. And Stivity's going to go off the beaten path here to grab a Jinjo. Is he only 15 seconds behind his PB? There's still a lot that can happen. We still have probably 2 of the hardest levels left, Rusty Bucket Bay and Quick Clock Wood, not to mention Furnace Fun, and of course the Grunty fight, where anything can happen as well. So Brad Hyper, I can't keep calling him Brad. I'm sure not everybody wants to know his name, but just in case you guys wanted to know, hyperresonance's real name is Brad. Hyper will be making his way into Freezeezy Peak before Stivity finishes it. So Stivity is still not a full level ahead of Hyper yet. See, I keep wanting to say Brad because it's just easier to say Brad. That's okay though. And Hyper will be making his way through the Twinklies. Stivity picking up his last 10th Jiggy there of the level. Will he make his way into the cave for the Ice Key? No, he won't. We're not able to collect the Ice Key during a 100% run. But Stivity will do a little interesting swim here. So normally we're supposed to be the walrus in order to enter this little swim area. But since Banjo sinks to the bottom of water that hurts you, he actually sinks into the tunnel and he's able to get back here as long as he has 5 HP or more in order to collect that last empty honeycomb and death warp on the ice cube. So very, very good on Stivity. He's out of Freezeezy Peak. And he'll be making his way into Rusty Bucket Bay. So what was Hyper doing there? Hyper was doing whoop, whoop. And Hyper gets trolled by the ice cube. Rip. Hyper was doing Twinkly Skip, which is where you don't look at the T-Rex monsters and they don't spawn. Losing. Wow. That's rude. What is Hyper doing? Losing. Rude. Alright. So Stivity maintaining flight here. He's going to be going for this Witch Switch Jiggy in Freezeezy Peak. And he'll be able to get this Witch Switch Jiggy by using the Beak Bomb. So Beak Bombing does actually extend Banjo's hitbox just a little bit. So even though the door was shut there, he was still able to grab the Jiggy with the Beak Bomb. Brad Beak Bombing the buttons here to spawn the button Jiggy. And Brad's got to be careful here with only 8 feathers. Manages to get into the pipe. Good. And he manages to get it in flight. Nice. And Stivity making his way up to Rusty Bucket Bay. So he's going to use a little exploit there, jump off of the bollard in order to get up to the water switch faster, the water level switch. And yes, those you can call pier stops. You can either call them pier stops or you can call them bollards. And he's going to make his way over into this side room in order to open up Rusty Bucket Bay. Rusty Bucket Bay. This is a lot of players' least favorite level, but in speedrunning, it's actually not that bad. Once we get out of Engine Room in Rusty Bucket Bay becomes a very fun level with very small rooms, tons of optimizations, and it'll be interesting to see how Stivity does. So Stivity making his way up to the first porthole. And when he gets out of this porthole, he will be going into engine room. Picks up some resources along the way. Brad doing a very weird beak bomb, but working out for him to hit the Sir Slushes. All right, so engine room. Very interesting room for 100%. In engine room, we have to use invulnerability frames after getting hit by these fan blades in order to actually jump through said fan blades. So we're going to see that out of Stivity. And now, as most people know, usually when you hit the engine room switches, you have to make your way all the way out of the engine room again in time to get the propeller jiggy. However, Stivity is going to be using engine room clip on the glass wall opposite where he is right now, and he's just going to basically walk through the wall. And that saves a ton of time. You can see Stivity rolls through the fan with the invulnerability frames after getting hit. Good job. And he's going to do it again here really soon. He walks into it, rolls, and he manages to save it. He did have a bad hit with that fan blade. He could have gone all the way down to the bottom, but luckily he saved it. He got on the slope of the ramp and jumped quick enough. And now he's going to just try to clip through the wall here, and there you go. He just clipped right through. And guys, that might look hard. That is easy as hell. If you have a Banjo-Kazooie cartridge, you can do it, I promise, with very little experience. Just try running against that part of the wall. You'll clip right through, I promise. I know I did gasp. Did you guys hear my because I thought he was dead. Dying in engine room doesn't lose too much time. It is right at the beginning of the level, so you don't lose too much progress on collecting notes. There are people who have PB'd in the past while dying in engine room, so it isn't too big of a deal. And Stivity collecting more of the stuff in Rusty Bucket Bay while he's on the timer. Hyper making his way through the first boggy race. Missing some notes, but still going. And Hyper wanted to go for that, he wanted to go for that Jinjo, but he realized he needed to collect that as Banjo-Kazooie. So Stivity, we see Stivity doing another form of slope glitching, where again, you know, the game says, hey, as long as you're not on the slope for too long, you can climb right up that slope. And you can see he uses that in order to skip the egg switches. So Stivity's going to drop the TNT. We have a fun boss skip coming up pretty soon called Boss Boombox Skip that we're going to see out of Stivity here soon. Hyper just finishing up the first boggy race, so he's about a little bit more than halfway down the Freezeezy. Hi, Ruble. You've just missed the Wahey, but you can catch the second round. So, Stivity, he's going to shoot eggs at Boss Box. Now, the game normally, if you were to walk forward, Boss Box would spawn, and he would hold the Jiggy inside of him. However, if we never walk forward to hit that cutscene and we shoot eggs at Boss Box, we're still allowed to hit his hitbox, and we'll actually deactivate the cutscene because the game will assume that, hey, you've already watched the cutscene because Boss Boombox is active. And so that's a way for us to grab Boss Boombox's Jiggy without actually defeating Boss Boombox. And there are ways where you can actually collect that Jiggy as Boss Boombox is hitting you, and it'll skip the Jiggy dance as well. That is frame perfect, though. That is very difficult. It's not done in a lot of runs. So Stivity, he's making his way through these blue boxes. Blue boxes are very, very fun. Very small rooms where you can optimize your movement. And just like that, Stivity's basically in and out of another blue box with everything in 8 seconds or so, 8 to 9 seconds. Is there any sort of a contention with close times accusing folks of starting times too late or too early? Yes, but not in Kazooie. Not in Kazooie. Nobody really comes close to Stivitybobo, so we don't really have to worry about that. in terms of world records. But I know that some other communities have had to deal with that. So, Hyper making his way to the top of the snowman. He's going to get the hat jiggy. He's going to get the last present for Boggy's kids. He's actually accumulated a fair amount of red feathers from the scarf, so good on him. He's got enough resources probably to get him through Quick Clock Wood. And Stivitybobo, will he go for lifeboat jump? He is. He's going for it. Oh, and he gets it. Very good. So the lifeboat jump there, that saves about 6 to 7 seconds. It saves climbing up the crane and getting over to the ship the slow way, but he does manage to get a lifeboat jump on the first try, so very good job on him. That is definitely an instant Craigasm strat, because that is a very tough strat that only few advanced runners use. Who is the second place after Stivity? His name is JC Tomo, or Jack. Stivity, a little bit afraid of enemies in here. He's going to make sure he has 3 health before fiddling with the, man, what are the things that come out of the walls? What are they called? Why can I not remember their names? Grill Champas, thank you. Grill Champas. Stivity making his way up the smokestacks now. Hyper making his way around the snowman's legs, collecting some more notes. Dickus Khan is not second. Wall slugs, yeah. Best game of all time for me, speedrunning or otherwise? It's hard to say. You know, Banjo-Kazooie was the first game I ever received as a child from my parents, so it does have a place very near and dear to my heart. In terms of speedrunning, I don't know. There are a lot of games that are just really, really fun to watch in terms of speedrunning. We're going to see a lot of those games at Summer Games Done Quick. You're seeing one of the great speedrunning games right now, Banjo-Kazooie. Great, great speedrun game. You'll also see Banjo-Kazooie 100% at Summer Games Done Quick this summer with Stivitybobo. So please make sure you mark your calendars and tune in. It's on the 4th of July. It's going to be great. I may be on the couch. That's undecided yet, but I could be. So you might hear some more boss commentary. So Stivity making his way to the end of Rusty Bucket Bay. Sorry, we've gotten a little bit away from the game. He's going to make his way over to some of these last couple jiggies. Where can you vote for me? It's not a vote. Stivity's going to take some damage, get onto this ledge, and he'll be making his way into the anchor room. The anchor room can be very, very spooky to enter, but Stivity's got 2 HP, should be okay. And Hyper's going to make his way down to this last couple of notes that he missed. Good. And as long as Stivity runs down the center of this hallway, he shouldn't get hit by any of these Grill Champas. Good. Now, if Stivity got hit by one of the Wall Champas, it would have been the end of the run. It would have been the end of the run. Stivity would have had to do the entire Rusty Bucket Bay level again, collecting all 100 of those notes. And it would have been really, really bad on him. So, thank God he played it a little bit safe. He knew the corners where the Grublings were. He's going to go down the center again. And he's going to play it safe. He's going to grab another health here. Whew, that was really, really scary. You still don't want to die in Rusty Bucket Bay after you've collected all 100 notes, because he still has not gotten all 5. Still has not gotten all 5 Jinjos. So, it's got to be careful there. I have played ukulele. I think it's fun. I think Banjo-Kazooie is better. So, yes. Hyper just now finishing Freezeezy Peak. Stivity is still not quite a full level ahead, but he is basically a full level ahead, just not officially. So Stivity making his way over to the last room of Rusty Bucket Bay. He's got to collect one more empty honeycomb before he's done here. And then we'll be entering the final level of the game, Click Clock Wood. Now, for those of you who, again, are watching the game for the first time or maybe haven't played it before, Click Clock Wood is a very interesting level in that it's the same level all 4 times. And it's the same level 4 times because it's the same level as you go through the 4 seasons of the year. So we're going to see Click Clock Wood in spring. We're going to see Click Clock Wood in summer, in autumn, and in winter. And it's a very, very tough level in terms of speedrunning. It was also a very hard game for casual players. And again, guys, there are many, many ways to drop down to that 0 HP in Click Clock Wood, and dropping to 0 HP in Click Clock Wood is very devastating because you have to re-enter all 4 seasons in order to get all 100 notes. And so we'll hope that both of these runners play it safe. And we'll see how it goes. Feels lateral, man. Yeah, you cannot diss Spyro and Crash, though. Definitely staples of platforming gaming as well. Stivitybobo going for a leaf jump here, and he gets it on the first try. So instead of going over to the leaves as normally intended, he kind of skips up onto the center leaf, which you can get with a very precise jump. Gets you over to this jiggy switch just a little bit faster than normal. And do you guys remember the orange cauldron at the beginning of the run? Well, here's the second one. Stivity's going to go ahead and warp back to the beginning of the lair, because guess what? That is where the Click Clock Wood puzzle is. He's got to open up Click Clock Wood before he begins Click Clock Wood. So he'll be on his way to the puzzle before he makes his way to the final level. Stivity doing a quick dive here off the edge of the platform, getting into this tunnel a little bit faster. Hyper just now entering Rusty Bucket Bay, so we'll see how he goes in the first porthole and in the engine room after. Stivity just now opening up the Click Clock Wood puzzle. And this should be like a heaven room for Hyper, considering all the resources that are in here. And guys, if you haven't followed both of these runners, you need to bop those follow buttons. These guys are incredibly knowledgeable on the game. If you want to see this game run to its absolute insanest pace, you need to follow Stivitybobo, great world record holder. If you want to see a man who has the most technical knowledge of this game ever, you need to bop that follow button on hyperresonance. Just 2 really, really great runners, very knowledgeable on the series. And again, hyperresonance did create the 100% tool-assisted speedrun for this game, which I would implore you, if you really want to see this game pushed to its max, please take a moment, watch the 100% tool-assisted speedrun. It's up on YouTube. It's up on taskvideos.com. It's a really, really cool run. Hyper playing it a little bit safe with the fan blades. He knows he didn't get a good recoil, but he gets a good one on the second one. Good job. Plays it a little bit safe. He wants to make sure he does not fall off. He doesn't want to do it again. So Stivity just now entering spring. He's going to use these little saplings that are outside of the tree in order to do some springs on. There we go. And now Brad is going to have to do the engine room clip here. We'll see how successful he is, how fast he is at doing it. And he decides to walk through it rather than the Talon Trot. We'll see how fast he gets it. And he clips in just about 6 or so seconds. Pretty fast clip. If you can clip with 60 seconds remaining on the clock, that's usually a pretty good sign that you'll be okay to collect everything else. Goes for the lifeboat totem. Stivity making his way up the tree of Click Clock Wood. He's going to hit the summer switch, which will open up the summer season. What does Hyper usually speedrun? So usually Hyper does not stream much. He's currently working on the Banjo-Kazooie any percent tasks. But in his off time, he does speedrun Kazooie. He does speedrun Tooie. So Stivity's making his way into the nest. He's going to shock spring on top of this egg in order to free Irie, the eagle. And we're basically going to be Irie's mother for the rest of the run. Irie's parents have abandoned him. We don't know where they are in the run. And he's a growing baby bird. needs some food. And so we'll be feeding him worms in later seasons. And he will replenish us with a Jiggy. So Hyper makes his way out of engine room. Very good on him. He's going to do some slope glitching as well. While Stivity plants the beanstalk. Not the beanstalk, just the flower. It's just a flower. Does Stivity also do Banjo-Tooie? He has done Banjo-Tooie speedruns in the past. It's been a long time since he's done a speedrun, though. So Stivitybobo gets spring clipped there. So that clip is a way to get back to the start of the level without losing note progress. It saves probably about 12 to 15 seconds. Maybe even more. Maybe around 20 seconds. He is not world record holder in Tooie. So Stivity now in summer. Brad almost getting the frame perfect skip there, but he is going to get hit by Boss Moonbox here. Collecting some more eggs as he leaves. If you've never played either of these games, if you've never played Kazooie, if you've never played Tooie, I would implore you to play both of the games. They're very fun. Very fun casual games. So, Stivity just now killing all of the Zubbas with gold feathers. Very fast way of killing everything. And now he'll be making his way down to Gobi. So, Gobi, the camel, if you remember him from Gobi's Valley, he's actually here in Click Clock Wood. Excuse me. And we're going to use his hump again in order to water the plant. And Stivity accidentally misses Gobi there. And the flower grows a little bit higher in summer. Hyper now getting into the blue boxes. And Stivity now collecting more worms for Irie, like I was talking about earlier. And he's going to pound the autumn switch here. Good. Ooh, Hyper sliding around on the top of the blue box there. Now, Hyper's got to be a little careful in here. Yep, he's going to go ahead and be safe again. He doesn't want to get hit by these Champas. The Champas will deal 2 damage if you get hit by the Champas. He's being safe. He knows, hey, if I screw up one of these phases, I will get hit by a Grill Champa, and I'll have to do it all again. So he says, you know what? It's been a while since I've played the game. I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to kill the beehive. I'm going to get some extra health. So Stivity, he collects another worm. He's going to be making his way up the tree now. Brad jumping around on these toxic barrels, being safe. The toxic waste just damages you. It does not kill you if you enter it. That's another common myth about this game, is the waste water instantly kills you, and it doesn't. So Stivity is using the leaves in order to get this Jiggy on a branch. Collecting some more Mumbo tokens, continuing to make his way up the tree. Hyper deciding not to go for lifeboat jump. He goes the crane route, but this means that we could see a kitchen skip out of Hyper, possibly. And he does get the kitchen skip, so he goes into the porthole before the cage closes down. Hyper collecting the last little bit of notes. He's going to use Gold Feather in order to not take damage in the oven, because he needs that Mumbo token. Stivity collecting the 5th worm in Quick Clock Wood, making his way over to the nest again. And he's going to go ahead and feed Irie these 5 worms. Ooh, and Hyper misses the lifeboat jump to get on top of the upper level of the ship, and he falls off of the ship. So he's going to have to climb the crane to get back over to the rusty bucket. That's a little bit of a time loss, but not too terrible. Stivity grabbing a Jinjo. He's going to be making his way over to Autumn. Autumn is actually the season that we spend the most time in Quick Wood. Can I explain the camera placement? Okay, so when feeding Irie, obviously there's a lot of things going on the screen when we're feeding Irie. You know, Banjo, he's pulling the worms out of his backpack, he's throwing them into Irie's mouth. Irie is eating them and gulping them down. And that's a lot of frames that get put on screen. And we want to make sure that the frames that are getting put on screen are less laggy frames. And so there's a way that we can turn the camera in order to not have the game lag as much. If you get a slow feed or a laggy feed, you could lose up to 20 seconds feeding Irie these worms. So we always want to make sure that we're kind of looking away from where the majority of the game would be when we're feeding him. So Hyper collecting the whistles jiggy. He's going into the nav room now. Stivity collecting some more worms for Irie. He's got to feed him 10 worms in Autumn. And Stivity is making his way around the tree. He's going to go ahead and quick dive into the beaver's house in order to get some notes. Hyper being very careful on the banister here, making sure he's able to enter this window. Good. And Stivity's going to be making his way over to the snare bear for some notes. He's going to hit Gobi again to water the plant. Actually, no, I don't think he will. I think Stivity will go for the soft lock. Yeah, he's going to go for the soft lock. So we're going to see a really, really interesting strat that we don't see from a lot of runners. We're going to see the Click-Clock-Wood soft lock here when we get back to spring. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later when we get there. Here's what I'll say about Banjo-Tooie. Banjo-Tooie is a bigger game, a bigger cast of characters with kind of the same gameplay. But it's a lot more involved. I'll say that. It's a lot more involved without spoiling anything. I would say that it's not really a letdown. I would say you should give it a try. So Brad finishing up the anchor room here. He's almost done with Rusty Bucket Bay. Stivity finishing up the beehive here. This will be the second to last time he enters the Zubba beehive. He'll have to re-enter it again for the last Jiggy of Click-Clock-Wood. But we'll be back again for that in spring. Making his way around the tree in Talon Trot, being very careful, grabbing some Mumbo tokens, making sure he doesn't get hit by this dragonfly, the dragonfly that has wrecked many a runner's run by knocking them off the platforms there. He manages to just barely eke by him. And I'm not sure what I just saw out of Hyper there. He was up there for some reason. Maybe he wanted to collect some notes. Okay. He's going to be going for the Jinjo here, making sure that he can get the 10th Jiggy of Rusty Bucket Bay. Stivity collecting the 9th worm, the 6th acorn. He's going to go ahead and feed Nabnuts, the squirrel. That's right, his name is Nabnuts. That is not Clanker. That myth has also been disproven. It's not Clanker. Okay. And Brad will be making his way over to collect this last honeycomb, and he'll be death warping. So again, Stivity is definitely more than half a level ahead of Hyper, but that's okay. Yeah, debunked. I don't know why I keep saying disproven, like that means anything. So Stivity's collecting the 10th worm, and Stivity's going to make sure the camera is faced at a good position there. It's really, really easy to get a laggy camera on Autumn because you can see all these leaves are falling. It adds all that extra stuff onto the game screen. And so Stivity gets a good camera here where he barely sees even half of Irie eating. So that's good. Good way to skip. And Hyper, just now typing in the chat, he says he's 5 minutes ahead. So, even though he had a crappy early game, I guess he's picking it up against his PB. We might even be able to see him PB this run with a bad FFM file. That would be interesting. So, Stivity taking some damage here. Grabbing the last couple of notes out of Autumn. And he'll be making his way up to Winter. We see Hyper now going for Leaf Jump. He decides, he says one is enough. He doesn't know how to do it. He decides he's going to do the leaves the intended way. Stivity making his way over to Winter now. I do think that if Hyper were to PB right here, that would be the first PB of this tournament. I could be wrong, but I think it would be the first PB of the tournament. Stivity making his way through Winter. We're going to see a lot of interesting flying sections in this Winter. So Stivity, he gets onto the roof. He's going to collect this stuff in Talon Trot. He's going to jump down to the Witch Switch. Good. Oh, did you PB iCup? I just missed it. Oh! And Ace Gamer also got a PB. RIP! I'm just giving you incorrect information. Don't listen to me ever again. I'm telling lies. All right, Stivity. He beak bombs all the way up to the top room here. Beak busts. Hoops an egg. Enters the room. Hyper grabbing a Mumbo Totem. He's definitely ahead on Mumbo tokens, by the way. Opens up the Quick Lock Wood puzzle. Stivity still with 5 more Jiggies left to get in Quick Lock Wood. Oh man, everybody got PBs. Okay. Don't listen to me. All right, Stivity grabbing some branch notes. Brad swimming to the cauldron. We're going to see another interesting flight section here. Stivity's going to pick up the Blue Jinjo in flight. He's going to pick up the Irie Jiggy in flight. You guys remember Irie, right? He was just a little baby bird. But, oh my god, he's a fucking eagle! So yeah, we were his mother. We did that. We did that. And he's so thankful. He takes those worms and he poops out a Jiggy, because that's video game logic. Okay? And he's going to pick up the Jiggy in flight, and he's going to beak bomb to this other Jiggy that he's going to pick up in flight. Very good. And then he's going to poop an egg above this window in order to hit the window, in order to enter the window. He does a very good job at that. And he gets the second to last empty honeycomb of the game. And now we're going to see a very, very, very cool flight section from Stivity. So there is a clip here to clip all the way into the beaver house from up here in the tree. And it's going to be really cool to watch. So Stivity is going to fly above this window, barely touch the ground here, and beak bomb down into the house. Okay, he beak bombs all the way through the tree. He has to pick up this Jiggy and this empty honeycomb in flight. He does, and now he has to lean up against the fireplace and do the exact same thing. He's going to get very close to the ground, and he beak bombs through. He gets the void. He rat-a-tat-raps, and because he did not actually die, the game spawns him back at the beginning of the level with all the notes that he had, and he's just looking really good. He's got 7 notes to collect, and now Stivity is going to be making his way into what we call the soft lock. So he's going to be completing the flower Jiggy in this season. Normally, you are to complete the flower in autumn by hitting Gobi again, but he didn't hit Gobi again. So what Stivity is going to do is he's going to poop more eggs into the flower hole that we already have a flower growing out of. Now the game, because we're still in spring, it just believes that it should be spawning the flower, but it actually is going to activate the Jiggy. So Stivity's got to be careful. He's got to hit this egg while the bees sting him. Now the flower is growing, and the flower is actually showing you the position in which the Jiggy should be. So it's gonna soft lock the camera here, you guys. It looks like it's a ruined run, but it's not. Stivity is having control over Banjo-Kazooie, and he's gonna try to enter Mumbo's hut here. And we'll see him entering Mumbo's hut shortly. There you go. He hits the loading zone, and he enters Mumbo's hut, breaking the soft lock, but still spawning the Jiggy. That is a very, very, very cool strategy. I'm really, really pleased that Stivity still decided to do it in the run. It's just a really cool thing to watch. Okay. So Stivity is now the bee. He's wasted the rest of his Mumbo tokens. He no longer needs this. He collects the other Jiggy. He's got to fly up into the hive. And he's going to do what we call hive clip as the bee so that we can take the bee out of the level very easily. We call it a soft lock because it soft locks the camera. He grabs the last Jinjo and he's going to clip out of the beehive as the bee. He voids, which brings him back to the start of the level, and he's out of the level. Stivity has collected 99 Jiggies and 900 notes. And there's the 100th Jiggy of the game. So Stivity has all of the game totals now on the game total screen. He's got 100 Jiggies. He's got 900 notes. He's got 24 empty honeycombs. And now Stivity must defeat Gruntilda Winky Bunyan. Okay, he's got to make his way through Grunny's Furnace Fun. And hopefully he gets good RNG in Grunny's Furnace Fun. We don't necessarily know what will happen. He's on a decent pace. I think he's still behind time, but he's still on pace for about a 204, 205, 206, somewhere around there. It would soft lock if you didn't get hit by the bees. That is correct, Flag. So Stivity is just answering these game questions. He's going to be making his way through the Furnace Fun. Now, the cool thing about Furnace Fun is that there is a way to skip a majority of Furnace Fun. We don't want to go through the whole game board. We don't want to trigger the fake credits because the fake credits are long as hell. We don't want to watch them. And so a banjo runner by the name of Obliterator, he actually found a way to skip Grunny's Furnace Fun by losing on a fatal death square. A fatal death square are the squares that have the big red skulls on them. And there's a section of the game where if you lose on a fatal square, instead of pushing you in the lava, it actually pushes you onto another section of the game board, and you're able to skip the entirety of the rest of the game. Okay, so Stivity is answering some questions. He had a little bit of RNG there with the Grunny question, but he managed to get it on the second try, I believe. He's going to use the Joker card to go over the clock squares. The clock squares are mini games, usually about a minute long. They waste a ton of time. We don't want to do those. So we keep the Joker squares for those two clock sections, and we take a specific route to where we only pass by 2 clocks. So Hyper making his way through summer. He's about halfway done with the summer season right now. Stivity just continuing to make his way, answering these questions. He doesn't get a grunty question on the death square, so that was good RNG there. And he gets in a pigsty on the first try. Very good. You know, it's funny. You guys say minigame squares. Who does those anyways? So the guy who originally did the minigame square was the guy who found that we could do Furnace Fun moves, because he died doing a minigame square. So if nobody had done mini square games in the past, we would have found Furnace Fun moves. So it's a very interesting fact when you think about it. And Hyper goes ahead and feeds these 5 worms into Irie. And Stiv is very, very close to the skip. He gets the Grunny question wrong. He's got to do it again. And Stivity will now be looking to get this. Oh, he still missed it. He's got to do it again. Oh, he still missed it. He's got to do it again. He still missed it. He's got to do it again. Is he even using the calculator? All right, he gets it. He's going to try to line up the skip. He lines it up. Ooh, he's got to get it wrong, and it's a grunty question. He has to get this question wrong. And he gets it right. Oh my God. Stivity gets a grunty question on the final death square, which ruins the skip. So he has to kill himself and do it again. Unbelievable. That is terrible RNG from Stivity. That feels so terrible. Ooh, that is so bad. A grunty question right after a grunty question. That is just really, really bad RNG at the end of the game here. So Stivitybobo, he's got to do it again. He's got to get back to the death square. Any chances that Stivity had of PBing, I don't even know if he had a chance to PB, but they're dead now. It's gone. He cannot PB. And that's just the RNG here at the end of the game. You guys asked, how much RNG is in Banjo-Kazooie. Here you go. This is most of it right here, right at the end of the game, right in Furnace Fun. Yeah, I don't think he had a chance to PB either. I just was unsure. I don't know how fast Stivity can do grunty. So Brad picking up a little bit of time on Stivity here. Can't spell fun without FU. Alright, so Stivity is making his way through this. Hyper is being a little careful, making sure to play it safe, picking up some worms, picking up some health. He's making his way around Click Clock Wood. We're going to see what kind of RNG Stivity gets as he continues along. The Furnace Fun glitch does not keep your Furnace Fun. I don't know what you mean by that, Mackerel. You could finish it like normal, but you would have to watch the fake credits, which are very, very long. So no, we don't want to do that. Yeah, the grunty questions are completely randomized. So there are over 250 patterns of correct answers for grunty questions. Most runners use what we call the Furnace Fun calculator in order to eliminate some of the RNG. There is no way to eliminate all of the RNG without wasting time during the run and talking to Gruntilda's sister, Brentilda, who is hidden all over the lair, because she gives us some of the answers. So there is a way to deduce it, but you can only deduce it after you know certain right or wrong answers. So he's going to go for the setup again. He gets a screen question, which means that he'll be able to easily get it wrong as long as he does not answer Mumbo's Mountain. He answers Quick Clock Wood. The game believes he gets it wrong, pushes him back onto the game board, and he's able to just walk all the way across and pass Grunty. Grunty can stay here with her game board, and Stivity's going to be making his way into final boss, into Gruntilda. The answers are random and the questions are random too. That's correct. Okay, so Stivity, he opens up the door of Grunty. He's going to get some resources, and then he's going to fight Gruntilda. He's going for dog skip, not even close. That would be funny if Hyper decides to do it, though. I doubt he will. So, Stivity jumps into the cauldron, into Dinkpot, and he gets shot up to Gruntilda, and now we're going to see him fight Gruntilda. So, interesting thing about Gruntilda is, again, we're going to do the ground pound recoil. Like I said, you are invulnerable during that little bit of frames. Coming out of it, he hits Grunty with the eggs. Ground pound recoils the blast, and he's going to shoot some eggs. Hits her with all three. He's going to shoot the section that she's coming into with eggs. And misses the third shot. He's got to hit one more. No, he did not get double honeycombs. That's not a requirement for 100%. Stivity hits her on the third cycle. He's got to hit her one more time with eggs. And he has 10 feathers, so pretty good feather count for the beak bombs. Bottles is going to spawn a flight pad. And just like that, he beak bombs her once. He's going to turn around really quickly, try to get her again. He's got to beak bomb her 4 times. Gets her twice. Gets her 3 times. And on the 3rd time, she like stands still for like so long, throwing the fireball so you can hit her really easily on the 4th time. Very good, very good. And she puts a shield around her, so now Stivity's going to go for a Jinjo cutscene skip. He's going to get to the right side of this hatch, and he's going to try to poop eggs into the Jinjo statue as it's spawning. We'll see if he's able to get it. It looks like he lined it up just right. Let's see if they bounce in. And he gets the cutscene skip. Very good. So while the Jinjos are continuing to spawn, the other cutscene where the Jinjo is spiraling and aiming himself at Grunty will happen. And now Stivity will make his way, shooting the other statues. Very good. And he gets them really, really fast. Okay, and he can just stand underneath Grunty, because then the Jinjos hit her faster. Very good. Hyper getting a really laggy camera angle on Irie, so you can see the lag that's happening on his screen right now. This is the lag that we were trying to avoid. Stivity just has Jinjonator left. So yeah, like I said, Stivity was going to get around a 210. He's going to get a 207, but, you know, only 4 minutes off his PB. Still did very well for himself. Played it safe. Lost some time here and there, but overall, great runner. If you haven't followed him already, please pop the follow button. Great runner. Same thing with Hyper. Very knowledgeable about the game. Stivity's finishing up Jinjonator here. And time. 2:07:11 for Stivitybobo. Very good. Congratulations, Stiv, on the win. And that's much better than the run that he did just the other day. He did get a 2:15 against Retro, so that's very good job on Stivitybobo's part. Better race pace than before. GG's all around. And Hyper is not too far behind, considering Hyper's got some time and he could possibly PB here. Just depends on how well his Furnace Fun goes, but he could PB. Yeah, as long as, yeah, I feel like there's no way Hyper isn't going to PB. So, guys, I know the race is over. Stivity has won, but please stick around. Let's congratulate Hyper on his PB, because unless he chokes something big, he's going to get a pretty sizable PB here. So let's see how he goes. He's going to make his way through the end of winter here. You guys are free to watch the end of Stivity's cutscene. You know, Gruntilda's going to stay under that rock for 2 years. Oops. Brad accidentally hits the top of the... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Unless he chokes something big. Well, guess what, guys? He just choked. Is he going to continue? Oh, my God. Oh my God, I don't even know what to say. Oh my God. So what just happened there was Hyper went for the beak bomb up to the top of winter, and he thought he was above the platform, and he missed. And he ground pounded all the way down, and he did not have enough health to survive the ground pound all the way down to the ground. So Hyper is gonna have to collect all 100 notes again, Brad. I promise I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at chat. Oh man, that is a really feels bad, man. So, can Brad PB now? I'm not sure. He has to finish. He has to finish Quick Quack Wood in the next 10 minutes. Otherwise, he cannot PB. So I don't think it'll take him 10 minutes to collect all these. So hopefully he can still PB. But it's definitely not the PB he was hoping for. How is it my fault? All I was saying was what was true. That he was going to get a pretty sizable PB as long as he didn't choke anything big. And 100% he did. So what do you want me to say? So he knows he has all the notes. He's going to go ahead and leave. He actually doesn't have all the notes. Hopefully he goes back over to... Hopefully he goes back over to Naughty's house. Yeah, okay, he remembers. That's good. People telling me to just stop talking. So he grabs some notes here. He's got the notes. That's good. I did not... Oh, man. Did somebody clip him doing the ground pound? Because that was funny as hell. Like, I know it sucks for him, but it was funny as hell. Somebody clip the ground pound? Somebody go back and clip it? Because that'll be something that I watch probably 10 more times tonight. So, he's got to make his way. Unfortunately for Hyper, he's got to collect all the Jinjos again, too. So, he's got to collect all the notes. He's got to collect all the Jinjos. I know, I was such a good commentator, and then I fucked it all up. Sorry, Hyper. Hopefully you'll forgive me. You clipped the original statement. Oh my god. Somebody can clip it when the VOD's out, for sure. Okay, so Hyper's making his way through. Sorry, I had to take a moment. I had to really think about what I've done. Hyper's going through Autumn, collecting the notes, collecting the Jinjos. I don't think he needs to collect the worms again. Somebody make sure to clip it when it happens again in 5 minutes. Oh my god. Oh man. That would be so bad. He's got 4 notes to collect in here. Sir Slush, there you go, on the left, just like I said. Sir Slushy. Chinker, that's a racist name. I mean, what? Alright, so Brad, he's got to make his way up the tree. He's got some notes at the top that he's got to collect. He's got some notes here in the snare berry he's got to collect as well. Good. Another note here. He's got notes around the nest that he needs to get as well. Let's see how he does. Let's see how he does. He grabs some notes in the hive. Wait, no, he didn't die again, did he? No, please don't tell me he died again. Sorry. Yeah. And he died again! What are you doing, Hyper? No, he hasn't died yet. And he's got some time, guys. He's got some time. He has about 5 minutes. So he can still get a 225 with this time. Well, oh no! Oh no! Not like this! Not like this! Oh my god! I gotta stop talking. I can't do it anymore. I can't do this. Oh my god. Alright, so right now, if Hyper was to finish, he would get a 225. But he hasn't finished yet. Oh no! Hyper! I can't. I all I ever wanted was a nice match. A good race. I never asked for this. I'm so sorry, Hyper. I never meant for you to go through these these trials and tribulations. Oh my god. Alright. He's almost made his way back up to where he needs to collect the last of the notes. Jesus Christ. Alright. He's got some notes around the nest to collect, and then he'll be making his way back into winter. And that's all. Oh, Brad, not like this. No, Brad. Oh my god. I can't, dude. I've tried so hard. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I haven't done anything. This isn't even me anymore. This is just freaking... He's done. Oh, he's not done. Oh my god. Oh my god. This feels bad, man, with a gun. Holy sh... Okay. He's making his way. How many times have I said he's making his way up the tree? Like, honestly. He's making his way up the tree. And he's got to collect that one final note on the nest. Oh my god, I'm fucking crying right now. Oh my god. Oh man. Okay. He's got to be careful here. Good. He's got 4 health. Gotta collect the last note. He gets it. He does the ground pound recoil. Trying. What is he doing? What is he doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Is he done? Oh, he's done. Hey, what? 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 Okay. That was an interesting display. That was an interesting display, but he's done. He's decided he's gonna keep going again. That was some Kazooie poop rage, for sure. And now he's going into winter. All right. All right, so he is entering winter. I don't know why he's coming in here, though. Maybe he wants some health. Maybe he needs red feathers. He wants some red feathers, that's fine. He doesn't pick up any more health, though. And he might want to pick up some more health. All right, so... at this point in time, guys, I think the PB is dead. Brad has fallen off the tree too many times. He would need to exit the level, like, right now in order to tie his PB. So, it's definitely rip run. This will not be a PB, but we're going to keep watching. We're going to keep commentating, because I'm not done until both racers are done. He's going to try to collect this Jiggy in flight. He's being very stubborn. He does not want to land. There we go. He grabs it. And he's going to make his way. He's going to make sure he ground pounds on top of the platform. Oh, he isn't even going to ground pound. He's probably traumatized from the last ground pound. Oh, he says he's done. Uh-oh. Did he die? Wait, did he die again? Oh. Ah! 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 Oh my God. He can't keep doing this. He resets. Hyper. I'm so sorry, Hyper. I'm so sorry. Oh, man. Well, guys, can we get a Bible Thump 7 hyper-resonance in the chat? Let's get a Bible Thump 7. Let's give him a round of applause. Let's give him a fucking salute in the chat for continuing to go after the death. Keep going. Keep going. Give him a Bible Thump 7 in the chat. It was a good show. He did his best. And guys, if you haven't already, please bop that follow button on Hyper Resonance. He might have lost the run. He might have died one too many times. But again, just an incredible player with a lot of game knowledge. Again, creator of the 100% tasks. I can't stress enough how much work Hyper has put into this game. He's really been the mastermind. All the improvements, all the slight optimizations that you see out of Stivitybobo, those have all come mostly from Hyper Resonance and his knowledge and him saying, hey, look, you can do this instead and it'll save this amount of time. He has really been the one behind the scenes. So if you have not bopped that follow button, bop that motherfucking follow button because he is a great runner. Same thing with Stivitybobo. Thank you guys so much for the race tonight. Thank you for having me on commentary. I had a blast. Thank you for the Saturday night. I hope you guys enjoyed the race. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. And I hope to see you guys again tomorrow. We've got a ton more games tomorrow to go. And it's going to be a bunch of fun. So thank you so much for watching. And thanks for the race, you guys. And good night.